Well, welcome to my wildlife garden. Some years ago, the Federation of Naturalists was given a grant to prepare a book on wildlife gardening, and somehow the finger got pointed to me, and away I went, and the book Attracting Backyard Life was the result. Well, you can't write about a subject and yet not put it into practice, and so what you're going to see here is my wildlife garden, how it evolved as a result of that challenge that I was given many years ago. We were very lucky when we purchased this property. It's a long, narrow property, and it's got a lovely rocky gully at the back that has an ephemeral stream which flows in the wintertime when we have heavy rains, but is dry as a bone during the summer. But yet I can build a set of terraced ponds, which you will see a little later, and they show very nicely the range of things that you can put in different ponds. Now, somebody once asked me, what is a good backyard wildlife garden? And I think of two things. I remember Barbara Frum, the CBC announcer. She said, well, a Canadian garden starts with a well-manicured central core and just phases out into the environment until it's absolutely wild bush. That was a lovely description, I thought, and I thought I should practice that. And then I thought, no, what it really is, a wildlife garden is an orderly presence verging on chaos. And this garden with this summer and this rain that we've had is absolutely chaotic at the present time. But it's just a wonderful, wonderful place to spend time, to observe wildlife, to observe pond life, and just almost be at home at nature just by walking 25, 30 meters outside our back door. I'm Bill Merilees, and I live with my family here in Nanaimo. I've had an interest in natural history since I was, I guess, knee-high to a grasshopper, and I remember reading my first report card, which I found a little while ago from my grade 1 teacher. She said, Billy's interest in science has the whole class enthused, and I think that has sort of been a byline of my life in many ways. I joined the Vancouver Natural History Society when I was a teenager, followed along behind a lot of the great naturalists of the greater Vancouver area. I think of people like McTaggart Cowan and others that were not only eminent wildlife biologists, but they were first-class naturalists as well. And that enthusiasm has just carried through all my life. Not only was I a member of the Vancouver Club, we started the West Kootenay Naturalists 50 years ago. The Nanaimo Field Naturalists had a really good group when we arrived here, and I got involved with the Buttertubs Marsh Conservation Area. And we've managed to expand that and improve that in many ways. And it's just been a driving force in my life, the appreciation of nature and trying to preserve things, make things a little bit better. And my gardening experience, which is minimal, has taught me many, many things that I put into practice over the years. Well, this is the lowest of the three major ponds I have on the property. These were professionally constructed. They're 8-inch concrete walls, about 4 feet deep. I don't know how many thousand liters they hold, but a lot of water. But of course, as you can see now, we're getting into mid-late summer, and so water levels do diminish, and which is natural of all ponds. But this is primarily what I just call a water lily pond. It's got a beautiful couple of flowering species here. And it's just something we can enjoy from the upper windows of our house. And it's very, very pleasing just to be able to look out and appreciate what's here. From time to time, we have great blue herons that come in. We've had mallards, wood ducks, hooded mergansers have all used this pond at various times. Matter of fact, mallard ducks even nested here a couple of times, which is really a tribute to it as a good, healthy, natural area. We have at least 2 species of water lily here, one native and one horticultural. The horticultural one is the pink one that you can see, and at the far end of the pool you can see some great big sort of heart-shaped leaves picking up. This is the native water lily. They both do very, very well here, and the yellow water lily usually blooms a little bit earlier, so it's finished. You'll notice the arbutus tree that has fallen into the pond. That happened a couple of years ago, and I thought, well, that's an interesting natural feature. I'm just going to leave it. And it turns out it has now become a pathway for squirrels coming across the garden. They can run down the trunk, run here, and then run out the branch, and then jump onto the wall, and run along the wall to feeding station we have, which is primarily for birds, but squirrels make use of it via this runway. This is our middle, what we call the middle pool, or the Queen Charlotte pool. It's the shallowest of the three, and this is the place where I brought in from the Queen Charlottes a lot of primarily bog plants. And you have the sticky false asphodel is in bloom here, Labrador tea, kalmia, bog laurel. You've got lots of sphagnum moss. You've got species of sundew that are here, and one that his name escapes me, which I always forget every once in a while. But I got Vancouver Island beggar tick and things like that, and then a lot of water lilies behind, and sweet gale, this shrub behind me here, which has got a very, very beautiful aroma and perfume to it when you squeeze it between your fingers. So when they would come up here, it takes me back to my days in the Charlottes and many, many trips that I made there. So that's the bog pool. Okay, starting at the bottom here, we have a big rich bed of sphagnum, which is a type of bog moss. Most people just know it as peat, and this is when you buy peat, it's mainly sphagnum moss that is the main composition. Then we have the sticky false asphodel here with the yellow flowers that's in bloom. We move to the left here, and we have Labrador tea. The flowers are finished, and you see the seed pods coming out right now. You've got blueberry here, bog blueberry. And then, of course, you've got kalmia, which has a very, very beautiful pink flower with, it almost looks like a Christmas tree decoration. It's just so beautiful. And then, of course, this is the big leaf of one of our native water lilies. This is our top pond. The plant you see here is buckbean. Has a very, very beautiful flower, pure white, with lots of very, very frilly petals. It's just a gorgeous plant, and it grows out over the surface of a pond. And rather than being rooted right in the ground, it'll be rooted on the side of the pond and then grows out over the top. And this is what you see here. We've cleaned out the part right in front of us, and but it has a lovely, lovely cover. This place is thoroughly grown over. I told you about Wildlife Garden being an orderly present verging on chaos. This is chaos, and I'll have to come back this in the winter here and cut this back and just open it up a little bit so there's more open water here where other plants and animals can get more surface area in which to breathe and swim. When winter rains come in earnest, the ground becomes uphill, becomes saturated, and slowly it begins to flow. And it comes down through all the colluvial rock down. It hits this concrete wall, which is a dam, which the water spills up and over into the pool. And then by a pipe from here, it goes to the next pool and then trickles, cascades all the way down to the bottom and finally out and just percolates into the ground beside our house. So this is a permanent water supply. It was interesting. This hillside is bone dry in the summer. And so anyway, all of a sudden, I put the wall in, then we built the pool. And lo and behold, salamanders appeared. And I wondered, where the hell did they come from? Because this hillside is bone dry. There's not water within a quarter or half a mile of here. But sure enough, the salamanders here, they laid their eggs in here early in March. And they've had populations here ever since. And I don't find the adults in the garden, but I certainly find the young ones in the pool, and I've got a couple in the container here, and well, you can have a look at those on a close-up. Oh, good. Okay. They're called this is the long-toed salamander, and you can see the general shape, large head. Ideal for grabbing mosquitoes and other small aquatic insects. And they will grow up to be these ones are just over, I'd say about 3 centimeters long. When they get up to about 6, 7, 8 centimeters, then they will lose their gills. Their body conformation will change, and they'll crawl out and live in through the rocks. I suspect they live in the talus slopes well down underneath where there's still moisture. And they will spend the rest of their life there until springtime when they want to breed. They'll come back into here. But my grandson and I put 60 mosquito larvae in a jar and put in 3 of these guys, and they literally cleaned up every mosquito larvae, about 4 or 5 over one evening, which was absolutely amazing. These guys, and I've read in the literature that salamanders for mosquito control are used in some places just for that purpose. It's really quite remarkable. People often ask me, well, with all these ponds in your gardens, don't you worry about mosquitoes? And it is true that ponds that are not properly maintained and not properly balanced do have can have a lot of mosquitoes. And everybody knows if you put a pan of water out and leave it there for a week or two, it'll be filled with mosquito larvae. Well, just to test a little bit of that on these ponds here, I have not only do I have frogs living here, but I have salamanders as well. And salamander larvae, people don't realize, get up to about 3 inches long, and they're voracious predators. So my grandson and I got 3 pickle jars, and we put 30 mosquito larvae in each jar, and we put one salamander larvae in each jar and left them overnight. And so we had 60 mosquito larvae in these jars. When we came back the next morning, we only found 4 mosquito larvae left. The fact is that just about everything will eat mosquitoes and mosquito larvae. And so if you have them in a pond that's naturally balanced, you have no worries about, you shouldn't have any problems about the worries about mosquitoes. It's when you leave out buckets of water in a shed or something like that and the mosquitoes can lay their eggs there. That's when you have a mosquito problem. So we're very lucky here. I've got a healthy population of salamanders in these ponds, and so I have no worries about mosquitoes. So, but every pond, every backyard garden should have a water source somewhere, whether it's just a dish of water that birds bathe in, or whether it's got a little sprinkle in it, or just a piece of a pond like this. But it's an ideal attraction and brings in all kinds of wildlife that you normally wouldn't get a chance to see. And I mentioned ducks coming into here. That's because we've got a large pond and it's open to birds flying by. But it's a focus of every garden, and kids will spend more time looking into a pond than they will into a garden. So that's what I've got it here for, and being just a big kid myself, I get tremendous enjoyment from a pond.